Health is certainly a hot topic right now. It seems like everywhere you look, there's a new app, a new breakthrough, or a debate about what's right for your body. But as astrology lovers, we know that health cannot possibly be one size fits all. It's as unique as your natal chart and influenced by planetary transits, just like everything else in life. And with all of the planetary changes happening right now, there's also corresponding shifts happening within our bodies and new ways to optimize our health and well-being. That is why I am so thrilled to have Judith Hill back on the podcast. She's a legend in medical astrology. We are so lucky to be able to learn from her. And in this episode, we cover how planetary transits impact your body, why Pluto in Aquarius is changing health for decades and what you can do about it, the March 14th eclipse, how it impacts digestion, sleep, and energy, and finally, what the lunar node shift into Virgo and Pisces means for our health and what we can do about it. Plus, if you want to go deeper, we are running an awesome sale right now on Judith's mastery class that she taught for the Inner Circle called Planetary Transits from a Medical Perspective. Now through February 27th, you can get 20% off this mastery class. Plus, you'll be able to join us for a live Q&A, which is a bonus, with Judith herself, where you have a chance to get your questions answered. Go to astrologyhub.com/transit to learn more and get instant access to this mastery class for 20% off and join us in time for the live Q&A. We're going to drop that link in the show notes as well. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this amazing episode with Judith Hill. Judith, welcome back to the show. It is so great to have you here again. We love when you come on the podcast.
Well, Amanda, I love being on the podcast too, and I love it especially when you interview me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. All right, so we are going to be talking about current transits and how they may be impacting different aspects of our health. But before we do that, I just wanted to start here with a kind of a bigger picture question for you so that people who are less familiar with medical astrology can start to get an idea of how this all works. So we know that we have a natal chart, and that natal chart is, it provides a map, and it's a map both psychologically, spiritually, but also physically. So it's a map of the body, right? And our potential health outcomes and conditions and things like that. How do transits, so there's that snapshot at the moment of our birth, which is our natal chart, and then the planets continue to move, right? So how does the movement of the planets impact our chart from a physical health perspective as we move through time, as we move through life?
That's just a brilliant question. So the transits are current time influences, and they influence your permanent, I call it the planetary resonance pattern that we're born with. So you think of cosmic color rays. Each planet has its own cosmic color ray, and each planet has its own temperature, level of moisture that it influences, and a speed. Some planets are tense, some planets are relaxed. So as they move around the chart, and they'll come to one of your permanent placements, and they vibrate it. It's like a radio signal. They start vibrating it. So you can really learn to see this. So say when Mars comes right over your moon, your emotions are now vibrated with heat, and people get more passionate, or they get more angry. They want to go get more exercise. They're not as patient because they're being vibrated with a heat and a red. Actually, it's a yellow ray from Mars. In the West, we think red. But so this is how it works. And it's complex because it could be by a square, a trine, an opposition, different angles. But the conjunction, when a planet comes right over another natal position, like say Jupiter comes right on top of your moon, why does that make you fertile? If you're in a certain age group, because Jupiter's ray brings fertility. The qualities of Jupiter bring growth, and he's the blue cosmic ray, and he's expansive. He comes to the moon. The moon is the part of your being that represents your womb for women and your fertility. So it's actually simpler than psychological astrology. It's just very mechanical. A plus B equals C.
So it's like you just need to know the equation.
Yeah, you need to know the temperature, the qualities of the planets and what they'll do and what the natal planets mean. Each natal planet represents a body organ, a function, a metal in your body, various nutrients, also various emotions, psychological states. And then the sign the planet is in represents a physical body zone. So when planets go into different signs, which as they're going to be all doing, most of them, the big ones, going into new signs, they start to vibrate different body zones and different organs differently than they did before.
Judith, what do you say to people who hear something like this and feel like they're at the mercy of these movements? Like how much, and I'm sure I've asked you this before, but I'm really curious right now to know how much do we participate in this? Or is it just sort of happening to us as the planets are moving and vibrating different aspects of our natal design?
This is a question that could probably be best answered by thinking of yourself as a farmer. So you got different farmers, right? And one farmer, so we have the weather. The planets are the weather. Now, we cannot change the weather. Well, we kind of can now, with chemicals and things. But so we have the planetary weather. And you can, to a great degree, offset planetary weather. You can build an umbrella over your plants. You can take an extra rain and build a fish farm. You can do good things with it. Some weather is very welcome. There are times when the weather is truly overwhelming and sometimes people can't do anything about it, like a giant flood. But in general, on the individual level, we have a lot of ability to what's called remediate, astrologically remediate different of these cosmic energies. And that's, what medical astrologers do. They're like astral mechanics. That's I like to call them astral mechanics because they're working with these vibrations coming in, and you can put up a block, you can put up something that neutralizes the energy, you can use an antidote like gems, herbs. In India, they use some chants, various kinds of foods and nutrients, and there's activities that can balance these rays coming in. In the Renaissance, they knew this as ens astral, meaning astrological causation, which was a cause of health problems. And it was one of like 13 different etiologies or causations recognized. But it was so important that the chart was used to determine what was causing a problem as well. But any astrologer who starts observing this carefully can watch the changes when planets change signs, especially on the body. Like Venus entered the sign of the hair, the head, the hair just about 2 days ago. Has anybody noticed a sudden change in their hair?
Yes.
Mine really changed, just boom.
Yes.
So got a lot of drier, just like that. But anyway, so there's these, it's very delicate, but you can remediate. That's why we do this. So you're driving down the road and you can say, 2 blocks away, there's a hole, drive around it. And 2 blocks away might be 2 years from now, if you don't do something, you're going to get arthritis or atherosclerosis. So you can do something about this now. Or you can have a problem that's happening right now, and you can figure out what things will soften that or antidote, And of course, sometimes things go too far.
Right. Like it's just sort of past the point of no return.
Yeah, even some of the great medical healers have encountered this. But most of the time, you can do a great deal, and we have time. Or why study this? Or that's our question. Or why study this?
Exactly. If there's nothing we can do, then what's the point, right? And I've gotten to experience firsthand several health challenges for myself, for people I love, in which the medical astrology was the most helpful of any tool that we had at our disposal. And so I'm definitely a believer, but I just wanted to hear from you, if people hear these things and think, oh God, well, if it's just gonna be a hurricane, there's nothing I can do. But like you said, there are things we can do, even when there is an actual hurricane. There are actually things you can do. You can batten down the hatches. You can, have your supplies of foods and things like that. Okay. Speaking of balancing rays and potential overwhelming energies, I know astrologers have been looking at March 2025 for a long time. There's a lot happening in March of 2025. So I want to go through what you see as things that we can do to remediate or mitigate some of the potential effects of the astrology in March. Before we do that, we had another huge transit that all of you astrologers were talking about forever last in 2024 when Pluto went into Aquarius. So let's start with Pluto in Aquarius, because that's going to be with us for what, 19 years, 20 years?
Yeah, a long time.
Yes. Okay. Let's start there. What is the signature of Pluto in Aquarius? What might it be vibrating in our charts, in our bodies, and how can we work with that energy productively?
Pluto in Aquarius has brought, it means and it really, I considered the day the sun joined it, which was at the end of January when the sun entered Aquarius, that began an entirely new era for humanity that day, 19th, 20th, 21st of January. The skies show that. Now, Pluto, all you had to do was start looking at what was going on right then. And two things have become very, very big that can affect our health, and a huge interest in building up AI. And everybody's gone computer mad and electricity mad. So and the other thing was a great interest in nuclear power again, wanting to build nuclear reactors like crazy all over the US. So, and everywhere. So these things are very Plutonian because Pluto rules plutonium. And so how does this influence us? Well, we are becoming, we're all swimming in electromagnetic frequencies all the time now. And it's getting kicked up a notch. So this is creating a new type of human. All the new babies are being born into an electronic world with a sky filled with satellites. And so our DNA could be changing, how we process information, how we talk with each other. Everything's changing and becoming much more rapid too. Everything's sort of speeding up. And, it's affecting us. So what can we do about it? Well, first, be aware of it. I always recommend having at least one E-free day a week. And also every day do things like an old style human being. Because again, we're going to be as different. The new people coming in are going to be as different from me, say, my generation, as I was from, say, a hunter-gatherer in moccasins, because I live in this modern world. I always wish I was one because I'm an herbalist. I love nature. But, we're now very removed from nature. So the human being is changing. How much do you want to stay more of an old style human being? Then keep your heart alive. Play with animals. Learn to communicate with plants. They do talk back. I'm not crazy. There's lots of studies that prove this. They do even know who you are when you enter a room. That's been proven. Learn to sing and laugh more. People have not been laughing enough. In other words, don't become an electronic robot. Keep your interest in community alive. People are becoming more insular. So these are some things one can do so that you can use all this wonderful electronic technology without losing your warmth and your humanness. because Aquarius is the most impersonal of all signs. That's the danger of it. The good side of it is it's one of the most inventive, and we could see some remarkable new fuels and medical discoveries. I'm a medical, not a political astrologer. So, and I'm a vocational astrologer. I love working with practical, matters. So, I hope that helps answer that question.
It does help, Judith. I mean, so you just described the new children being born, and they're being born into this very electronic sort of field. And do you think that I'm sorry, I remember this kind of sci-fi movie that I watched at one point where somebody was being interviewed, and they were sort of like the last human alive. Like they were like the last one who had felt love, who had felt joy, who had felt like human emotions. And they were very curious about what all these things felt like. Are we going that extreme? I mean, is there a point where the human emotions, the human experience in general is just going to be changing 100%?
Well, it's unfortunately already happening. I mean, I for years and years, neighbors on both sides of me wouldn't ever say my name, and I'd go, hi, Josh, hi, and they go, oh, hi, and go back to their phone. And this is happening. I have guests for dinner. I cannot pry the cell phone out of them. They're always trying to get me to look at it while they're eating. And I say, you have that in your hand all day. I've made you a meal. That put the phone down and let's enjoy each other's company. So people are starting to socialize through a screen, even while they're sitting together. I observe this constantly. I had an interesting experience. I took a train from my area for several, went to another state. The entire train ride was gorgeous. I'm looking out the window, I'm seeing eagles, I'm seeing deer. Absolutely amazing Amtrak ride. People on both sides of me are just staring at their phones or their computers. They're not looking out the window. So, I'm getting real curious. What is in that phone that is so much more interesting than what's out there than real life? And I'm looking over, and they're just looking at ads and, dance clothes, and here's my boyfriend. And then when their power would go down, they'd become frantic. So I know that there's this terrible addiction now, and it's now normal because remember when it first started happening, there was a lot of discussion about computer wives and these addictions where people couldn't get off their phones and their screens. You don't hear this anymore. Now the person who isn't addicted is weird, considered highly weird. So this is already happening, but we don't know how far it will go. What I'm concerned about is they're trying to now build glasses and things you can put in the brains. The person is always wired into a giant web system. People must want this, or the scientists wouldn't be working on it. But human beings are beings that are constantly curious and always want more and more and more and want to expand. So it is going in this direction, but you do have a choice. I always say to people, use all your senses. They're finding inner city children are now sensually deprived. Centrally deprived. They're not getting smells and tastes, sounds of nature. They don't know what it's like to have the earth under their feet. That's been going on a while. So, I love to cook. That keeps you connected with the planet. And, get out in nature or garden, do something to keep, so you aren't, it isn't going in your whole energy field and your mind and your emotions, all electronic. And again, it's a place for it. Obviously, we're learning so much I can talk to you now. I can talk to the world now because of Zoom. I can find out information I need in the twinkling of an eye. This is wonderful, but you just want to make sure that you keep the old style human alive.
Yeah. And it does require, what I find, it almost requires constant diligence, especially when you have children. Like, because it's just this constant draw towards it. And it feels somewhat like a fighting a losing battle in a way, but I can see what you're talking about and the importance of it. And it also seems like if we do continue to honor this aspect of our humanity, that it's actually an advantage, like in navigating forward, because the more we keep our senses alive, the more we keep our heart warm, the more we keep our ability to leverage the technology, but then also leverage what's amazing about being human, it will become more and more rare, and it will become more and more of a something that is special and valued, I think. But we'll see.
Yes, I still remember an interview with James Taylor, one of the writers of some of the most beautiful melodies we've ever heard. You know, beauty is being undervalued, and beauty is a real thing. It's not in the ear or eye of the beholder. It is vibrations that are good and healthy for you emotionally, mentally, and physically. And James Taylor said that he noticed people didn't do what he used to do. He used to sit for hours with his guitar, thinking and feeling, and this isn't being done so much anymore. So one exercise I would give people is do something even 5 minutes a day, work in beauty. Look at beautiful photographs or listen to beautiful melodies or draw pictures, but work with beautiful resonances and harmonies. This will keep you in tune. It absolutely will.
I love it, Judith. Okay, so we have Pluto in Aquarius. Let's talk about some of the other big transits of March. So we have, well, why don't you walk us through which ones you think are the most important for our health?
I think there's several. There's two very important things going on. Saturn and Mars are both malefic planets. That doesn't mean they're bad. They also govern, bone and muscle, but they tend to cause trouble. And they're both in water signs. And we have the waters within. We are made out of water. We have a lymphatic system, which the water signs govern. And without going into too much detail, when they've both been in here a while, I forgot to put my ephemeris on the table so I could check dates for you, but it can mean the lymphatic system of the body slows down and there's more retention of toxins or retention of fluids. Or in some areas we might be getting more dry, in some areas we might be collecting water. There's disturbances of the waters in the body. So from a medical astrology standpoint, and with the full consent of your physician, there are herbs that help they're called lymphagogues. They help move the lymph. There's lymphatic massage. There are exercises. But remember, herbs do have phytochemicals in them, and they can mix very badly with certain chemical meds. You do need to talk to your doctor. And they usually should not be taken by pregnant women. Only certain herbs should. So moving the lymph along, drinking more pure water. And these are very, very, and then watch the buildups in the watery organs. So for women, good time for a breast checkup or breast massage, get the lymphatics of the breast going. You can raise and lower your arms to help the upper lymphatics, which are under the sign of Cancer. And Mars is in Cancer right now, and it's retrograde. And it'll be going direct, though, shortly. But this is very strong position for Mars. So toxins aren't being released. Look to your deodorant. Is it filled with chemicals? Are you putting chemicals into the lymph nodes of your armpits, which are also ruled by Cancer? And Mars is in Cancer. Mars rules toxins. So, and then Saturn and Pisces, we have an ocean inside of ourselves, the ocean within, I call it. It's called the extracellular matrix. And this is where you think of yourself as a giant sponge, like, little SpongeBob SquarePants. He's really what we are. Okay, so between the your artery walls and between them where the blood seeps out into the tissue, and the cell walls, we have the extracellular matrix, this gel-like substance that resembles seawater. And so we have things moving through it, and We have all the cells dumping their toxins into it. Pisces rules all this, the great ocean within. Pisces rules the ocean. It's non-judgmental. So it just accepts everything coming into it, as often Pisces do. Our physical qualities they mimic the sign. I talk about that in my book, The 12 Sun Sign Syndromes of Medical Astrology. So Pisces, the non-judgmental sign, it's like, yes, dump everything here. And then it's supposed to move them into the lymphatic vessels with more or less success. So this process is slowed down a little. It's a cold planet. We want warming lymphatics like horseradish, garlic, fenugreek. And so you have this. Also, Pisces governs the feet. Some people are having more stiff feet problems, more painful feet. Look to your shoes. It's a cold planet, Saturn, so you want warm and massage and oil those feet. Look to your foot gear, Now, and I'm just talking theoretically. I'm not telling you to do these things. I'm not a licensed physician, so I have to be careful there. Now, but then we have a huge, very important event, Amanda. You probably are aware of the big eclipse. It's on March 13th and on 11:55 p.m., meaning March 14th, and that's for Pacific time, March 14th for other time zones. And it's a total lunar eclipse at the end of Virgo. That means it's a Pisces Virgo eclipse because they are opposite signs, and eclipses always work upon a polarity. Now, why is this such an important eclipse? Well, all total eclipses are important, but on the other end, on Pisces, which is also getting the eclipse, sits a Saturn-Neptune conjunction on the north node. The eclipse is on the south node. So we have Saturn and the north node and Neptune all sitting on one end, and Virgo sitting on the other. Now, the south node is where the Virgo eclipse is. The south node is where energy exits. The north node end is where energy enters. And this is like a power surge, power outage. So what we're getting is the area that governs Virgo, the body parts that Virgo governs. So Virgo governs all the upper intestinal organs. So Virgo has a lot to do with the liver, the pancreas, co-governs the spleen with Cancer, has a lot to do with the whole upper intestines, influences the gallbladder and the duodenum as well. And these organs, for some, not for everybody, but they may become a little more inefficient or slower in function. And it's funny, the minute this happened, one of my acquaintances suddenly got an ileus, which is a paralyzed bowel, and blood clots in her liver immediately. And but what's happening, the other end is really the problem, because what's happening is the waters within are clogging up. The north node, Saturn, are both clogging. Neptune is there. Neptune governs things like lymph also, watery motions. And so we have pressure on one end, and Pisces has a lot to do with the lymphatic system of the bowel inside of Virgo. So we can have problems like, with the liver, or people getting constipated, or people have, their blood sugar acting up because the pancreas is so involved. So if you are traditionally speaking, if you were a medical astrologer, they were called astrological physicians. You would look at this and say you had a patient that was diabetic, or a patient that had a slower liver, or had suffered hepatitis, or was having problems with the intestines. You would go, oh, we have to be very alert to this. This would be a good day to eat very, very lightly, or a few days on either side, eat very, very lightly. They might suggest a gentle liver cleanse, but with a lymphatic cleanse and a doctor watching. They might want to warm the feet and massage the feet, because the feet influence the whole body, and Saturn is making things cold. And also this eclipse affects the psyche quite a bit. Now, Pisces governs sleep. And we've been having a lot of people unable to sleep lately. I'm really noticing this because Saturn, the planet of being awake, and now the North Node keeps you awake. They're both going through this sign. And Pisces is also the sign of paradise and escape. And, and they say that when Saturn, I remember it was Bessie Leo, I believe it was Bessie Leo, Alan Leo's wife. I hope it was her. She said, when Saturn conjuncts Neptune, you can no longer play the flute. And that's a perfect, I play the flute, so I know just what she's talking about. And so those romantic, lovely, let's trip through the tulips, Saturn's reality, it's sitting right on top of Neptune in the sign that would rather escape and, to strawberry fields and all that, dance hand in hand through the tulips, tra-la-la. So people are feeling that, where's my paradise? I can't find it. They feel scared. So I recommend to people, it's time to start paying attention to your psychic boundaries. I've been saying this a while. Pisces is the sign that rules no boundaries, and Virgo is the sign that rules boundaries. So Saturn's in Pisces. Neptune also rules no boundaries. So where we are psychically porous, if we do not pay attention to it, we're going to be feeling this much heavier, because if what you don't deal with, Saturn will force you to deal with. So Saturn is saying, okay, how can I, on Neptune in Pisces, how can we make a good boundary so we can maintain our peace and our calm and our joy? And we have to work harder at it. You have to work more consciously at it. This eclipse is really bringing that home. There's wonderful things we all can do to just protect the periphery of your home from vibrations entering. The vibrations with Pluto and Aquarius are intensifying out there. And you can put up, there's wonderful, all kinds of things. You can use your own, whatever religion you are, your sacred symbols. Put them in your windows. You can use shapes, beautiful shapes that are comfortable with your religious beliefs, that the light can shine through. You can play gorgeous music inside your home and protect the periphery of your home. You do need to do this more consciously now. You can, there's Palo de Santo, there's sage, there's beautiful smells, beautiful music, beautiful thoughts. This is the time to be definitely more vigilant of the gates of your psyche. March of 2025. And, probably for a few months following at least, but that eclipse is very, very strong. And to clean, because it affects the oceans, to clean the waters within. Now, if you're interested in influences of eclipses, can I show them my book I wrote ages ago?
Of course. Yes.
I dug this up. Eclipses and You. It details the medical and other effects of eclipses going in each sign. But more important, North Node and South Node eclipses and what they mean when they are conjoined personal planets in your chart. How long the effects might last, and the eclipses in each sign for what they might indicate, more cookbook approach for your ascendant and sun sign. Ascendant sign most important, and so it's a very pretty inclusive book on the subject for it's called Eclipses and You: How to Align with Life's Hidden Tides, and it helps you.
Really good one for every astrology student's bookshelf.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yes.
I wrote it years and years ago, and I wish I could rewrite it, but sometimes you can't.
Yes.
Too late, and you're busy. Because I've learned so much since, and even what people do during eclipses, all the ancient people to offset their influences. And one of them I would suggest is don't drink any water that's been left out under eclipses without putting a tulsi leaf, or a basil leaf in it to clear it. And this tradition of don't drink eclipse water is found worldwide. Even some Native Americans, like the Navajo people, the Diné, I've read that they cover the water during eclipses.
So you're talking about if people are making like moon water and they're purposefully leaving water out and doing rituals with that water, that the eclipse water needs to be treated very differently than your regular like full moon water.
Yes, do not want to make eclipse water. The only reason that they used to make it, and they would make it in copper pots in certain ways, was for treating epilepsy or seizures, to reverse electromagnetic. Eclipse water can make you very, very sick.
Wow, really good to know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Do not make your waters or your gem waters or your herbal waters or your collect dew on eclipses. You give it about 48 hours on either side if you can.
Are you of the camp that believes we should look at an eclipse or not? And what are your thoughts around that? Because that's a hotly debated topic, right? So what do you think, Judith?
That's a wonderful question, and it's just my opinion, but I'm of the Jyotish viewpoint. That's the astrologers of India. You do not go out and sit under, you do the opposite. You stay inside your house, you close all the windows, and you do not, during the maybe about an hour on either side, don't eat or drink, don't engage in sex. You don't want to, what's happening, what is actually happening in an eclipse. If you think of, we have cosmic sun and moon rays coming down two sides of our spinal cord. Science has never proved this, of course, the Ida and the Pingala. I believe the Pingala is the right and the Ida is the left. I hope I'm right on that. But anyway, now if you think of water coming through a pipe, and all of a sudden put your hand under the pipe, the water's going to pile up, right? Now, if you suddenly released your hand, there's a huge surge of water. So what happens, the sunlight or moonlight are turned off under a total eclipse. They're just turned off. And if you get really, really, really quiet, you can feel it happening. Then they're turned back on suddenly. So there's a stutter that goes through your spinal channels and your chakras. And this takes, you have to reorient yourself. Now, why this Earth-Sun system produces, 2 or more eclipses per year, we don't know, but it seems to be a form of rebooting something. It's a cycle. And so for good health, I've read that the Sikhs, I've never corroborated this, but I've read that some Sikhs lie underwater during eclipses. Apparently I thought, why would they do that? Well, electromagnetic energies travel the best through water. Maybe they keep certain energies going that way, or maybe it's protective. I don't know. I tried it once. It was interesting. I needed a breathing tube on the long eclipse.
Well, if you think about it, Judith, what you just described as like the water is almost blocked up for a minute and then it's gushes forward after the eclipse. If you were already in water, it wouldn't actually, you wouldn't feel that as much, right?
Yeah, the water is metaphorical here. It's
right.
Electromagnetic energies, but maybe it disperses it and you don't feel it as much.
I mean, it could mitigate, right?
Yeah, and then it could do that. Yes, Amanda, and it must do something or they wouldn't have this tradition. And the other one is that if you're on the south, if it's a south node eclipse, this is a power outage. If you're a north node eclipse, this is a power surge. So lunar eclipse, you get the power surge over in Pisces, where the head of the north node is, and you'll get the power outage over in Virgo, where the south node is. Now, these affect worldly events, and all the industries ruled by these matters as well. But that's what we're not talking about. We're talking health.
Okay.
So we all need to support, and you can release and cleanse your intestinal organs, but that means you need to rest them. The south node is where you rest. So I wouldn't eat real heavily around these for sure. And then there's a pileup or a surge on the lymphatic end. Do you see how this works? And so, and also on the psychic end, a lot of people are, getting too much psychic toxins. I mean, you have to cleanse your psyche. things go into your subconscious. So it's a nice time to work with, having a retreat or just a few days of beautiful thoughts and music. Try not to get yourself overly disturbed. And, so you look at where the energy is coming in too much, or it's blocking up, clogging up. That's the area of the psyche and the lymphatics and the feet, where the energy is too flowing out. It can be used for cleansing, but it also could be weak.
And which one's getting clogged and which one's falling out?
The clog part is the lymphatic system.
Right, because of Pisces?
Pisces rules the whole lymphatic system and particularly the extracellular matrix, the waters within. There may be toxins clogging up here and the feet. And it also governs the part of our mind that's storing a lot of, images and memories. And Pisces used to govern grief and sorrow in the old books, And so there's a lot of despairing people right now. So we may need flower essences. If you're a psychologist, you have to be a lot more alert than normal, or a mental health worker on this eclipse to help people. But one can do a lot of good by just making a little pool of peace for yourself for a few days. It's a good time to do your traditional rituals that, in whatever religion you are, to bring peace to yourself and to the world, and to protect your psychic boundaries and know what channel to tune in on. Now, the Virgo end, again, where there's a weakening or a release of toxins, a strong release and a desire to rest. That's the Virgo end, is liver, pancreas, spleen, upper intestines, can influence the gallbladder. Like, this is a time their body may try to release a gallstone. So this is a very interesting time, and it can be worked with. It's just you have to think, well, what can I do with this that would be of interest, that helpful and useful.
Wow. Okay. Judith, do eclipses work in a way where it's almost like a light switch? Like you feel it when it's happening, or do eclipses have a build-up period where you may be feeling these things before the eclipse actually happens and then after the eclipse happens?
That's a wonderful question. I love that. So, Amanda's always the best at these questions. So an eclipse like this, you might feel even a month in advance coming. We've been feeling some of this just because Pisces, Saturn's been in Pisces for quite some time, and the North Node entered a few weeks ago into Pisces. So we are beginning to feel this shift. Astrologers get very excited when the nodes change signs, and they just did. And so, the eclipse the event is on the 13th, 14th, depending on your time zone. However, usually 48 hours on either side is very pinpointed. There may be events related to the eclipse, often are within a week or two, if not within a month. If not, when the sun comes to the quarter point of the eclipse 3 months later, or an important transit like Mars. Mars always triggers eclipses, comes to square, oppose, or conjunct that eclipse. It will do so from Virgo. And eclipses of this nature their general effects can last at least a year, at least 1 year. And we saw this with we had a total eclipse in Aries in April 2023 at the end of that month. Mars came to squared that degree, 29 Cancer, just back in, was it January? And on that very day, the huge fires in California broke out around Los Angeles. And I was saying to my group, I said, this is almost like a year and a quarter. I wonder if this eclipse is still active. We'll find out on this day, a big total eclipse in a fire sign. So now we're having a total eclipse in an earth sign. And we also, we're going to have some in water signs now. So.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to ask you about the Virgo-Pisces axis shift in general, but you were just speaking about Mars, and you do have that great class that you taught for our inner circle, and we are offering an amazing sale on that right now, you guys. So I wanted to ask Judith about the class if you're interested in understanding transits from a medical perspective. This one's focused on Saturn and Mars. So can you tell us a little bit about the class and what students learn in it?
Oh, yes. If you wanted to learn one thing in medical astrology, it's this. You want to learn how transit Mars and transit Saturn influence your chart medically. Were the main actors. South Node's another one, but these were your main planet actors. And so you will find out how to work with and what it means when Saturn moves through your chart and conjoins planets or squares, opposes them, quincunxes them, how to handle the cold ray of Saturn and the hot ray of Mars. And they're both drying, but they're drying in very different ways. And they aren't always drying. Sometimes Mars is hot and wet. And so you're going to find out, these little differences. And it's very, very useful information that you can use throughout your life, knowing what body parts might be getting stiff or slowing down or getting speeded up, overstimulated or inflamed, and so you can, you can figure out, that's why my shoulder's been stiffening up. And of course, you should have a physician you're working with. And there are several physicians now that use this system all over the world. And I get reports from them saying, after we started using astrological medicine, which is what this system is really called, we're solving cases all the time that were mysterious or could not be solved before.
Okay, so we do have that class on sale right now. If you want to go check it out, it's astrologyhub.com/medical transits. We also have some other incredible classes with Judith that you can check out. We're going to put all those links in the show notes, plus the links to Judith's amazing books, her academy, lots of great ways for you to continue learning from Judith. I'm of the belief that the world absolutely needs more trained medical astrologers, especially trained by the best in the world, which in my humble opinion, Judith, is you. So we also added a live Q&A for anybody who participates in this current sale. So it's going to be happening on February 28th. Judith will be gathering questions, answering questions live. So if you do decide to participate before the sale is over, you will be included in this February 28th live Q&A, which is a bonus that we've just added. Couple more questions before we close up. We've shifted into the Virgo-Pisces axis for eclipses for the next couple years, right?
Year and a half.
Yes, from Aries Libra. What does that do for our health in general? Does that put more emphasis on our health? And if so, what can we do, for the next year and a half to really support the activation of those two parts of our body?
Right. Well, we have the personal and we have the world. So Pisces and Virgo rule health systems. The social systems and things that help people are pretty heavily under Pisces. And then the physical health systems, the hospitals, are under Virgo. Well, in the US here, we're already seeing an enormous attrition of doctors and health professionals. And it's very hard to get appointments and it's very hard to get treatment. So, this is not looking real good for this. So you might want to, get yourself set up with your health care with a good, primary doctor and make sure you have your health system set up for yourself before the year goes by, because this may get worse. Let's hope not. But these things are the weather, the bigger weather, but you can still work within it. So with your personal chart, everybody will have these somewhere. Now, you look where the South Node is going, it's usually where things are getting a little bit weaker or fuzzier, and like it was in your fourth house. Well, it's not the big year for your home. It's the big year for career, because the North Node, which brings in energy, will be in your career house. So you want to, work to strengthen your home, or just maybe you won't be home or something, so there's your house influences, but for your health, it won't affect everybody, their health, but if you have a health issue related to the Virgo organs, or if you have a planet in Virgo that this is going to be crossing over, you will have some physical effects of some kind, or you hypothetically will. So, example, if you have Mars in Virgo, and when the South Node starts coming over your Mars, you might want to make sure that and look at your symptoms. If you might feel a little tired, this happens. Is it you need more iron? Iron is ruled by Mars. South Node means power outage. Things are going out. Is it testosterone is low? I've seen that. Is it your physical energy? Somehow there's a problem. Is there a problem in the body part ruled by Virgo? So there's several choices, but energy is affected. If you're a Virgo, what if you're a Virgo? The South Node is coming through Virgo, and especially as it gets close to your birthday, when it starts to cross that sun, you might feel far more tired than usual, and nobody knows why. You can do something about this, right? Or why do we do this? So it means that your vital force, which is the sun, usually stored in this area, the heart, the vital force is dribbling out, because the drag tide of the celestial tides is on your vital force. So you do things to build up your vital force. You take foods that are known to be high in vital force. You can drink various kinds of waters. I describe in my book, Astrology and Your Vital Force, things you can do to offset this. You can do yogic exercises that bring in more prana. You can do things with the earth. Virgo gets its energy from the earth, which is one reason I've been recommending people work with the earth. They work with plants or they garden. You'll get more vital force, and the earth needs a lot of help this year. So to help the earth. So, if your Mercury was in Virgo, it's time to rest the mind. Mind, maybe not. No, Virgo Mercuries are real accurate. There are accountants and our bookkeepers. Yes, please, I'll hire you. But you might find you're less accurate, or your mind's getting tired or fuzzier because it needs a rest when the South Node is over it. And the Mercury also governs thiamine, one of the B vitamins, and you might be getting low on that. So you see how this influences us. There's no one size fits all for everybody. But we all might think of a little bit of liver cleansing and helping our intestines and our watch our blood sugar levels. I mean, we're already having skyrocketing diabetes cases. This is probably going to get a lot worse because of the collective aspect affects the pancreas. But you have your individual garden, which you can tend, and you have power over your own domain. And you can also do a lot with the other end too. Strengthen areas ruled by Pisces. They're going to be going really powerful. So strengthen your psychic boundaries. Strengthen your knowledge of psychic self-defense. Strengthen your feet and limber them up. They're going to get a little stiff.
It's so good. And I love that you just brought in how we have control over our own domain, and just going through those, like I mentioned earlier, some of those health challenges with loved ones over the last year or so. What you said about the impact on the healthcare system and the lack of support, really, and that's going to actually pick up. It made me walk away from that whole experience thinking, wow, we really need to take ownership of our health now as much as possible. Do those things that fortify our systems. Of course, there are things sometimes out of our control, but for as much as we can, being mindful about what we're eating, the quality of our water, making sure we're moving every day, getting sunshine, getting light, getting our feet on the earth, all these things you've brought up today. It seems more important now than ever, because of the combination of things happening. So hopefully for all of you out there, Judith has inspired you to look deeper, to tend to your garden, to do what you can to understand the astrological influences and then remediate, mitigate, soften, support, fortify, take care of yourself. And yeah, Judith, is there anything else you want to say before we close up?
Well, just to reiterate, why would we do this if you couldn't do things? Do things about things. It's the same reason we have weathermen, same exact reason, or doctors. But the thing about medical astrology, I will end on this. We have microscopes that can look, and X-ray machines and MRIs that can look deeply into the body. But the astrological natal chart and transits is sort of a kind of a microscope that can see into the patterns that have created that body and that infuse and inform the tendencies and changes in that body. This is something that medicine cannot do. And medical astrology can also see into the timing of the body, like, when to release from the hospital, when to have surgery, when to begin a cleanse. And these, again, modern science and medicine are missing. It is what is missing. And it is a very amazing system to study. And I'm always just thrilled that I get a chance to talk about it.
Oh my gosh, so are we, Judith. We're thrilled that you enjoy talking about it, because we'll have you back talking about it as much as you want. It's so good. It's so useful. So yeah, just in summary, we covered some Pluto and Aquarius aspects and how this is really bringing us into a technological era, and how it's really important to do the things that keep you human. Those simple things. I love your suggestion of having one day a week where we just put the technology away completely, go outside, do very simple things and connect with that aspect of ourselves. We talked about the eclipses happening in March and how those might impact. We talked about the Virgo-Pisces in general. So hopefully you all have gotten, and then also Saturn and Mars, how Saturn and Mars are really the main planets for you to learn about in terms of transits from a medical perspective. To get a good anchoring around that will give you a ton of information to continue to take the power of your own health into your own hands and really support yourself. So check out the links in the show notes. Judith, thank you so much for continuing to share your wisdom on this platform. We're so grateful for you. And thank you all for tuning in and for being interested and for making it possible for us to continue doing this work. We appreciate you so much and look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. Thanks as always for making astrology a part of your life. All right. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.